I would say that this story here is the Gone in 60 Seconds 2023 organization called Alpha Motive. We have John Castro and Byron Castro that operate this out of Laguna Beach, California. He had a lot of very high-end vehicles. I happen to own a 1967 GT-500 Shelby Mustang. It's the unicorn of the car world, and I listed my car with them. I wanted to make this video to basically let the public know about an organization called Alpha Motive. We have John Castro and Byron Castro that operate this out of Laguna Beach, California. They are a consignment dealership, essentially, that sells and buys high-end vehicles. I happen to own a 1967 GT-500 Shelby Mustang, and I listed my car with them. And so basically, when you have a vehicle, you want to sell the vehicle and you don't want to basically, deal with or interact with like potential buyers and all that stuff. You basically get a reputable organization to represent the vehicle for you and do the transaction, make sure that it all follows DMV regulation, laws, and all that stuff that are applicable to the states that, the sales are happening in. Kind of like a real estate transaction. Basically, the story goes like this. I met John Castro. I found him on Instagram, just following his page. He had a lot of very high-end vehicles. And I've been into the Ford scene for a long time, and anyone that knows anything about the 1967 Shelby GT500 Mustang knows that it's the unicorn of the car world. And I think it's like every person's like dream car, pinning it on Pinterest or whatever the case is, just vision board or whatever. And definitely had been a goal of mine for quite some time. Gone in 60 Seconds is my favorite movie. I would say that this story here is the Gone in 60 Seconds 2023 rendition, because literally the car is gone and I need to recover it. My hopes is that people see this, they are aware of what could happen to them if they're in a situation like this. I want people to be aware that this organization is still in possession of people's vehicles at this exact moment, and that they're about to be victims of this potential fraud again. The police are involved, the DMV is involved at this point, and we have District Attorney of Orange County also involved. Can't give any details around that aspect, but yeah. It was about 2022 summer, midsummer, I would say, like June, July-ish timeframe. He had a Mustang that was for sale. It was a fastback 1967, black on black, with a wide body kit on it. After looking at the car, there was a lot of things that I would have had to change on it, and I would have been, in another project, and I just didn't really want to be in a project like that where I was fixing these kinds of things. So I texted him and just said, hey, thank you for showing me the car. I really appreciate it. And this was about a week later. And said, hey, I'm not interested in the car, but nice to meet you. I'd like to follow you on Instagram and so on and so forth. And he followed me with his personal account. I followed his business account because his business account doesn't follow people. It has 0, actually, people that he follows, and he has 14,000 followers. So that was another reason that led me to believe that this organization was doing good business. I arrived to the warehouse. He's got this warehouse that's like air conditioned, and it's got like, the flooring that's all nice, and he's got this nice like hexagon like lighting from the ceiling, and then he's got this big old logo plastered on the wall with Alpha Motive. And it just seemed like, a good organization. Looked at them online. They have a good website that shows all these high-end vehicles. I see people commenting. He's interacting with the community, and there was never any reason for me to believe that anything could go wrong. I have got a bunch of pictures of me like digging into the dash and changing out like the gauge cluster and all this stuff. Like just really had a good time with the car, but...
Yeah, making the car yours.
Right. And that being said, I actually named the car Lacey. And the funny thing is about naming the car Lacey is that I didn't want to name it Eleanor because everyone names their car Eleanor. And so I kind of wanted to be a little bit different. So the license plate, custom license plate that I ordered from the DMV, which I've yet to get, which has been like 9 months, is Lacey 67 is what the license plate says, which is pretty cool, with the black and the yellow. I wanted to sell it. I have the pink slip for it. Basically, this is the pink slip to the car. This is what legally binds someone to being able to do a transaction. So I got in contact with John Castro, and I said, hey, I have this vehicle. I'd like to list it up for sale and all that stuff. We talked in text messages, and I have those text message records. We actually have a lot of text messages together that unfold this entire story. And we won't leak those out. Those are going to be used for the investigation. But basically, it came down to this. It was actually my father's birthday. That day, I actually drove the car to Laguna and basically signed an agreement to do a consignment. The agreement basically stated that there was going to be a price for the sale of the vehicle. There's going to be a commission. It outlines the dates of when I would be paid and how I would be paid. And that's pretty much it. Simple, like one pager, right? Left the car with him. He went out of his way to take very professional photos with a very high-end photographer that does these photos for these types of cars. He sent me the photos afterwards for the marketing purposes of those, and they actually came out pretty cool. I was very impressed. The irony in this is that the first red flag that ever I saw was, I have a friend who was driving on one of the freeways in Laguna, and he sends me a video of my car being driven up the highway. And so I basically called them up and said, hey, I just consigned my vehicle with these people. I'm wondering where it's being driven to. I'm gonna give them a call. So I didn't call and say, hey, like, where's the car or any of that stuff. I just said, hey, just want to get an update and see if you got it shot for pictures and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, actually my brother's driving it right now to get the photos done. So that was like a sigh of relief. So now we're talking July, August, September timeframe. You know, he's giving me updates. Hey, I got a buyer. They couldn't get financed, and you know, one thing to another. It's basically a sales game, right? We're waiting for a buyer that has the money to actually purchase something like this. Last week of September, he contacts me. He says that he's got a couple of like good leads, and so I'm getting excited at this point. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's hear the deal. He's like, hey, I got a guy that's coming to inspect the vehicle. We're going to do a report on it. They sent an inspection company or whatever the case is. And he tells me that they're going to come in the following week. I asked him for this report multiple times. After it was completed, never received a report. He just kind of made up excuses, and then he told me he had a buyer that gave him an offer. And so I was like, okay, I could entertain that price. We're not too far away from my asking of $250,000. Let's go ahead and do the deal and see if you can close them. He then told me that this person, as a contingency, wanted to fix a couple of paint chips on the front bumper of the vehicle. You know, rocks come up, they chip the paint, whatever the case is. He said, hey, the guy is contingent on this deal, just being that we fix this for him, and we need to send this to a paint shop to get those things fixed. He's like, it'll probably be a 2-week time frame period. So if we look at a calendar and say like October 5th to, you know, a 2-week period, we're talking about October 20th of a completion date approximately, right? And so I had followed up with him a couple times, and I said, hey, before you take it to the paint shop, I'd really like to take my car to Cars and Coffee just one last time. And he made up all kinds of excuses about the paint guy being very busy, doing him a favor to bring this car in so that he can fix the paint chips and get it all dialed in before it gets, you know, the transaction is completed, basically. During this 2-week period leading up to the 23rd of the month, he's told me that he sent a contract to the client. I questioned him on if I need to be involved with that contract to be signing off on these things. I asked him about processes, and I have all this stuff in text messages too, and he was kind of like, no, I can't legally disclose information about the other buyer and so on and so forth. And it was like, whatever, like I wasn't really thinking about it too much. I've been busy with work and so on. Well, as the weeks go on and I ask him specifically, hey, how did the repairs come out? He sends me a text, oh, they came out great, nothing special, you know what I mean, just simple repairs. He's telling me that, hey, the person is sending me funds in 2 transactions because of their, you know, there's maximums that you can do on daily wires, I guess, for certain banks, right? So he tells me the first transaction got sent, he's waiting for it to clear, he bought himself another 3 or 4 days. Second transaction, waiting for it to clear, bought himself another 3 or 4 days. Then when it was time to come give me my money, he started kind of pushing me off. Hey, I'll send you your money tomorrow. I'm still waiting for that other transaction. Something happened with the bank. I'm busy. I'm flying somewhere. I'm doing something, right? So it is now the 23rd of October. That is officially when our contract expired. Technically, I could have canceled that contract at any point in time even and go retrieve my vehicle. It stipulates that in that agreement that we have. And so I technically should have been able to just drive to his dealership and pick up my car. right? Because I'm the owner, got the pink slip, I even have, keys and all that stuff. This goes on for a couple more days. It's now Thursday that week. So 23rd, the date of expiring that contract was the 23rd, Monday. By Thursday, I had already driven by his dealership, closed down, and I called him and I was like, hey, shoot me straight. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, when is this customer taking delivery of the vehicle? And he says, oh, probably sometime next week. And I said, okay, but you've gotten paid for everything? Yeah, bro, everything's cleared. I got the money. I just need to wire it to you or whatever the case is. I'll pay you tomorrow. And so then I hit him with some really cold, hard fact. I have a GPS tracking device in that car, and I tracked it all the way to Texas. And that car left California on the 5th, and it arrived in Texas around the 10th of the month. I know where the car is at, specifically the address and who owns that house, and I know the owner's information. I need you to come clean about everything. And this is not bullshit, this is real. There's a tracker in the car. He then confesses everything, that he lied, he's in debt, he owes people money, he's gonna make it right, he's gonna fix things, he's gonna pay me my money, I'm gonna get my money, and so on and so forth. I ended up contacting the San Antonio Police Department that day. They arrived at this person's house who's in possession of my vehicle at this moment. They basically question the person. He shows them his contract that he has with these people, and he shows proof of wires, and they can't really do anything about it at that point in time, right? At this point in time, he is explaining to me everything that he went through with this group. The car was listed for $250,000. He paid $185,000 for it. Excuse my language, but who the fuck discounts a car over $60,000? That should have been red flag number one. In his text message transcripts that he sent to me involving the Alpha Motive company and him, they talk about activities that are not legal in there related to tax. They talk about picking up the vehicle, doing the transport, doing the deal, funds clearing, everything. So I have all these details basically. Part of me feels in some way that this buyer might be in on this whole thing. We won't really know until this investigation moves forward and those details come forward, so I hope he's going to be cooperative. The really tough part about all this is that this new person, buyer, is now harassing me and has sent me demand letters to sue me because I'm withholding his pink slip. We both got scammed, brother. We got to go after this other guy. So as of last night, I actually had to block him. I said, hey, at this point you're harassing me. You've already sent a demand letter to me from your lawyers. You gave me to the 15th to relinquish this title to you. I'm not sure why you're contacting me every day to, retrieve this title. And my whole thing to him was, if you want to do a legitimate transaction, you can deal with me. You can pay me for the car, right? And I will sign the title to you, right? If by somehow, some way, Alpha Motives gives me the money from the sale of this transaction, I will also release the title to you, right? Because that's what should have happened, right? If it was sold properly and all that stuff. Now, the price point and all that stuff, that's all irrelevant at this point. At this point, I have $0 in my bank account and I don't have a car in my possession. But the pink slip is my saving grace. And I think everyone who watches this video will agree with that. And again, this is more of like an outreach to the community. I don't know what is going to happen next in terms of steps or how long this will take. I think there's definitely going to be justice sought out. I found one victim already. He did it to a person with two vehicles, 1993 NSX, and then a Ford Cobra in like a blue color. Both vehicles sold without titles, same exact scenario. And this is like pretty much the exact scenario that happened with CNC Motorsports in Upland, California. I've been in contact with some of those people as well. I've been getting some, help around what they experienced. The sad part is that the individual who's in possession of my vehicle has literally texted me saying, I'm hiding the car and sending it to Mexico. another red flag for me, and it just seems that he is going out of his way. I mean, I understand, like, if this was a legitimate transaction and he sent this money, you know, I feel for him as well, but he's also a victim of fraud. He says, you're gonna come steal my car, but how would I do that? You know, I'm in a different state completely. Like, how am I gonna come to your property and steal this car? You know, it's kind of weird for him to say that. And he's removed the tracker from the car, right?
So he found it.
Well, I had told him how I found him, you know, or how I found the vehicle. I just hope that the person who was, you know, frauded in buying my car comes to, you know, the realization that we're both victims of something here, and that we could work together to pursue this individual and his brother and his organization in general, and do the right thing. Yeah. There's one thing too, for those of you that want to reach out to me directly, I have set up an email address, which is recoveringlacey@gmail.com. That email address will be posted in this video. All the photos and things like that, you know, will be posted as part of this video as well. So you'll have all the access to that as well.